who almost fainted as she watched the US president deliver a speech on healthcare reforms. So you've got to imagine he's speaking, he's on a podium in the Rose Garden of the White House, and Carmel Allison, the pregnant woman, is standing just behind him, directly behind his left shoulder as you look at him. And I'll play you a little clip of what happened now and describe what's going on. So the president is speaking about healthcare.
To free families from the pervasive fear that one illness...
He notices the lady and reaches back to her.
There you go, you're okay. I'm right here. I got you.
I'm right here, he says.
No, you're okay. This happens when I talk too long.
And she's gently taken away by somebody. Off she goes. Carmel Allison was invited to the event in Washington because she's diabetic and has always struggled to get affordable healthcare insurance. She decided not to drink very much on the day because she didn't want to need to use the loo while she was standing there, and being pregnant as well, and with the sun on her. Well, you can imagine she got very faint. She's fine now. She tweeted later, "I'm okay, world, just got a little lightheaded." So have you fainted at a crucial moment? Maybe you keeled over when all eyes were on you. Maybe you're a serial fainter and you find it very upsetting. 0500 288 291. Text us 88291, or there is the Radio 2 Facebook page. And let's talk first to Trudy Loban, who's Chief Executive of the Fainting Charity Stars. Hi, Trudy.
Good afternoon.
So it's the Fainting Charity suggests there are some people with a recurring problem here.
Absolutely. There are hundreds of thousands of people that faint, but I really want to get the message across that there's no such thing as a simple faint. There's always a cause behind it, and it's important to find out what triggers your fainting to ensure that it's nothing serious.
And your daughter had this?
Yes, absolutely. She started at 10 months old and she's now 24, and it was at the request of her consultant and three and a half years of seeking a diagnosis that we started the Charity Stars.
Because it was essentially something that she was having to live with, and there was no way of dealing with it, was there, medically?
No, there wasn't. Sometimes it's misdiagnosed as epilepsy. 39% of children and 30% of adults diagnosed with epilepsy are misdiagnosed, and many of them have an underlying heart rhythm condition, which often manifests itself with fainting. And that's why it's so important that anyone experiencing loss of consciousness, unexplained loss of consciousness, goes on to have an ECG, monitor their heart, and finds out the underlying reason for this. And in nearly all cases, it can be treated, but it is important to find out the reason why. And I'm here at the Heart Rhythm Congress in Birmingham with 3,000 delegates, and I've just been helping a cardiac nurse who's just fainted. So it is common, but it must be investigated and find out the cause.
Okay, Trudy, stay with us. Anita Kiernan is a working mum, and Anita, you've joined us because you regularly faint.
Hi, yes, that's right. I have a condition called postural tachycardia syndrome, which is a form of fainting.
And meaning if you stand up, you faint, or you sit down, or what?
It's usually triggered by changes in posture. My autonomic nervous system doesn't regulate my heart rate and my blood pressure very well. So changes in gravity, exercise, temperature, and things like standing for too long, or just the change in getting up from a seat to a standing position can cause me to feel very lightheaded or collapse to the floor sometimes. And
of course, we all know that feeling. I had something similar yesterday. I stood up very quickly and felt a tiny bit faint. Most people, they can feel a bit dizzy or faint. They don't actually faint, but you do.
That's right. Well, I don't fully lose consciousness, but I do collapse to the ground, so I can't actually respond to people for a few moments. And then throughout the day, I do get multiple lightheaded spells, as you're describing, where you don't feel quite right. You feel like you need to sit down. You go hot, palpitations. I get a tremor. And it's called pre-syncope, those symptoms just before you're about to faint. And I get that throughout the day.
Most numbers of times you fainted in one day?
I had a period in 2008 where I was really poorly quite some months, and I used to collapse probably around 30 times a day. I'd be collapsing to the floor or to the chair. As soon as I stood up, I'd just hit the ground again.
It must be dangerous because you can hit your head.
Yeah, fortunately with my type of collapses, I know I'm going, so usually that's kind of protective because I know I'm going to go down even if I can't stop it. But some people, as Judy says, there's lots of forms of fainting, and some people just collapse with no warning, which can cause quite serious injuries.
So if somebody pops a balloon at a children's party, could you go then?
That's exactly some of the problems I've had, which some are more comical than others. But yes, we've had some incidents such as balloons popping, or a train went past me very suddenly once, and the noise, that I could just literally jump out of my skin and just drop to the ground.
Trudy, that description makes it sound quite mysterious what's going on there inside Anita's body.
Well, it does. For some people, the lady yesterday with President Obama, she hadn't drunk very much, so if you become dehydrated, or many of us, as you said yourself, experience if we stand up quickly or stand in one place for too long, and often that's to do with the blood pressure, and our blood pressure drops, and so there's not enough oxygenated blood getting to the brain, so we faint. For others, it's to do with an irregular heart rhythm or the slowing of the heart. And again, my daughter doesn't get any warning. If a balloon popped near her, that would be it. She'd be on the floor, unconscious. And so it is important. There are many different reasons why people faint, and it's incredible how many people contact STARS when they're seeking a diagnosis, because all too often they're told, oh, well, it's just simple fainting. And that's why we produce checklists, everything to help the patient and the GP to identify the true cause so that it can be treated appropriately.
Thank you very much.
That might just be by drinking more water.
Thank you, Trudy.
Thank you.
Chief Executive of the fainting charity STARS, Trudy Loban, and also Anita Kiernan, who at one point in 2008 was fainting 30 times a day. Just because the President Obama speech and the way the lady behind him was going down, we thought we would discuss fainting today on Radio